Hey, what's up guys? GameShark aka Flash here with a quick tutorial on rendering. I noticed that the video that White had posted about 3 years ago it's gone private, so it's pretty much like a old resource now, and I thought it'd be a good idea to update it with another video, you know. So today I'm going to be using Photoshop with the pen tool. I'm going to be using this image here, and I'm going to jump straight into it just because it's going to take a while to do this one. Alright, so I've loaded the image straight into Photoshop. It should be fairly easy to do. First things first, when you load it into Photoshop, it's really important that you unlock the layer. So you do that by double clicking the background layer. It should say background here when you first load it in. Double click that, hit OK, and it should become layer 0. Okay, the next thing you want to do is come up to here, go image, image size, and we want to blow it up to 4 times of the size that we want. So I want a image to end up being 800 pixels. Therefore, I want 3200. Before I type in 3200, I need to make sure that this thing here is locked and these two, the width and the height, is constrained and in proportion. So I want to change that to 3200, sorry, and hit OK. Now we're good to go. So what I'm going to be using is the pen tool, like I said before. So come down here, pen tool, or hit P on the keyboard. So all we need to do is just make some quick clicks. Oops. If you make a mistake, the quickest thing to do is hit Control Alt Z, and that'll undo one step. Okay, so we'll just quickly do this very quickly. Again, I want this to be a really quick tutorial, so I'm going to be doing that. The next thing is, when you have a curve like the ear, you want to come right up to about here, and then you want to click on the next point, and you want to drag it out. So we need to drag that one out as well. And that's how you do the curve bits. Okay. The other thing I won't be doing today is doing detail in the hair. Usually a good render will take you about 30 to 40 minutes depending on how much detail the image has and how much you have to do. So if you have a look at the hair, there is a lot of detail that I can like really get into. So if I really want to get in depth, I just click all around that hair and get a nice in-depth, really good render. But for today I'm just going to be cutting out all that, and I'm just going to be, well, I should be using the curve tool really in that point, but I'm just going to be skipping a lot of detail just to speed things up. So just go ahead. There's a weird shaped head. Okay. Okay. So here usually you'd zoom right in and you'd make sure there's no red underneath here, like so that bit's quite terrible. But again, for today I'm just going to be doing a quick tutorial, so I'm not going to go into much detail. If this was a request though, I would probably spend about maybe 20-30 minutes doing this instead of like 2-3 minutes or 6 minutes. Alright, so yeah. Again, this is quite an easy thing to do. It's not very hard to do renders. A lot of people choose not to do it. It does take a while. The other thing you need to know when you're doing renders is the quality of the image you're working with has to be good quality. Oops. Garbage in, garbage out does apply. If you use a terrible quality image, your render will end up terrible, regardless of what you do, pretty much. There are a few things you can do to improve it, but it's really not that much. It's better off just using a high quality image when you're starting off with Photoshop. Okay. The other thing you don't want to do is you don't want to be doing this when you have your guidelines and grids on. So pretty much if you did do the other tutorial that I put up the other day, the slices to show you the rule of thirds and set that up, you don't want to have that on just because that actually does create some snap points and the pen tool might get affected from that if you do it too close to the grid. which is pretty much exactly what we don't want. We want it to be nice and accurate with our dots, so now plot points. So, whoops, go ahead, just fully mark it out. Should be done soon, shouldn't take too long. Okay. Again, it's quite quick. Oops. Try not to make it terrible, but I'm also at the same time not making it perfect. So yeah. Okay, so once you're done, what you need to do is just connect it to the first point. So I'm going to come in, zoom in, and I'll show you guys what it looks like when you want to connect it. So if you have a look at my cursor now, there's a little circle icon that just pretty much like shows you've done the loop. And once you've done that, you can right click, make selection. Okay, so this prompt will come up. What you want to do is you want to make sure that you have these settings here. 0 feather radius. So feather radius, pretty much what it does is kind of like erases a little bit of the end and just makes a really soft image. You don't want that. You want a nice hard image. That makes sense. Okay, so now we have that. We want to Control C, Control V, and that's pretty much all we have to do to like. That's the main bulk of rendering done. So I'm going to go ahead and turn off the other layer that we had, the original layer, and you can have a look. The best way to clean up your render is by creating a new layer. So Control Shift N and hit OK. And then we're going to use a background, black background, and then this will show up any like impurities or anything and make it easy to spot like really bad areas that you can fix up. So for instance here, I have a little bit of white there, a little bit of white there, a little bit of white there. I could fix up the curve a little bit better. You know, I can go a bit deeper here in this groove. And you know, I'll get my pen in right in there. Yeah, I'll fix all that up. Might straighten that edge there, just make it a bit clearer. Yeah, that's what you would do if you had time. I'm in short time, so I'm not gonna go crazy with that. Whoops. So make sure to do that on your layer 1 layer or it's gonna mess up. Okay, so once you've done that, we need to shrink it back down. I'll show you why. So pretty much, we don't want to be working with something this big ever. I mean, you could leave it at this size if you want, but it's just a waste of room, to be honest. Unless you're making like a wallpaper, you probably don't want it this size. So I'm going to go ahead, image size, I'm going to shrink it back to what we had originally, so 800. Okay. The reason we shrink it back down is so we have a workable size, makes it easier to fit on whatever page we're working with in Photoshop, and also the fact that, you know, it does, when we shrink it down, you know, the attention to detail, especially around here, you've noticed like the white has gone down by itself. So we end up with a much better quality render when we shrink down our work. That's pretty much because like all the cuts that we made were to the big one, and so they get shrunk down as well, and you see less of the cut that you made with it. So again, that's our completed tutorial. Once you're done, you need to save it as a PNG. Okay, so I know CC, it's a weird saving mechanism now, but you can save this as a PSD or a PNG, but if you distribute it, save it as a PNG, and then, yeah. And make sure, whatever you do, make sure it's a transparent PNG if you're using the old saving tool like I used to use. And that's pretty much all there is to rendering. So I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. Let me know if you want more tutorials, and yeah.